Most people believe that the only way to get out of crushing debt is a massive, unexpected windfall of money. But the truth is that sudden wealth usually leaves people poorer than they were before. The real way out of financial ruin does not start with what you are missing. It starts with what you are ignoring. If you have ever felt like you are drowning in bills, losing sleep over what you owe, and terrified for your family's future, you are about to discover a strategy that defies all conventional logic. By the end of our time together, I am going to hand you a specific, practical blueprint drawn straight from one of the oldest texts in history, a solution that will completely shift how you look at your very next paycheck. Welcome to Principios Eternos. Here, we uncover timeless biblical wisdom and apply it directly to your modern life, helping you navigate your finances, your family, and your personal growth. If you are ready to stop surviving and start thriving, take a second to subscribe right now so you never miss a principle that could change your reality. Thousands of years ago, a woman found herself in the exact nightmare many of us fear today. We find her story in the 4th chapter of 2 Kings. She was a widow. Her husband, a good man who revered God, had passed away unexpectedly, leaving her with a shattered heart and a mountain of debt. But the creditors in the ancient world did not just send angry letters or make harassing phone calls. They came for your blood. The creditor was knocking on her door, threatening to take her 2 sons and sell them into slavery to pay off what was owed. Imagine the absolute terror in this mother's heart. She was completely out of options, out of time, and out of money. She did what any desperate person would do and cried out to the prophet Elisha for help. Naturally, we expect Elisha to do what we all want when we are in debt. We want a handout. We want someone to step in and just write the check. But Elisha does not hand her a bag of gold. He does not offer a quick fix. Instead, he asks her a question that probably felt deeply insulting in the moment. He asks, "What do you have in your house?" Her answer is the exact same answer you and I give when we look at our bank accounts at the end of the month. She said, "Your servant has nothing there at all." But then she hesitates. She adds one tiny caveat. Nothing except a small jar of olive oil. Why did she initially say nothing? Because human nature trains us to discount what is small. When we are facing a mountain of credit card debt, a looming mortgage payment, or the rising cost of groceries, we look at our meager savings, our current skills, or our small income, and we label it as nothing. We convince ourselves that unless the solution is as massive as the problem, it is absolutely worthless. Therefore, we freeze. We stop trying. We wait for a miracle from the outside, completely missing the seed of the miracle sitting right in our own kitchen. Elisha knew that to break the cycle of poverty and debt, the widow had to shift her focus from the massive deficit she could not control to the tiny asset she could. But knowing what you have is not enough to save you. What Elisha tells her to do next is where the real strategy begins, and it is something most of us are far too proud to do. Elisha tells her to go around and ask all her neighbors for empty jars. He specifically says, "Don't ask for just a few." Think about how humiliating this must have sounded. She is already known in the community as the destitute widow. Now she has to go knock on doors, admit she has nothing, and ask for empty vessels. She is gathering emptiness. But here is the profound principle hidden in this strange request. You cannot receive a blessing if you do not create the capacity for it. In our modern financial lives, gathering empty jars means getting organized. It means doing the uncomfortable work of writing down every single debt you owe, no matter how much it terrifies you. It means creating a strict budget. It means opening up to trusted friends or financial advisors and saying, "I am struggling and I need help getting my house in order."
We often want the oil of financial abundance to flow into our lives, but we have absolutely zero structure in place to hold it. If God gave you $10,000 right now, would it pay off your debt?
Or would it just fund a temporary lifestyle upgrade because you haven't prepared your vessels? The widow had to prepare her environment for the rescue she was praying for. But even with a house full of empty jars, the debt was not paid. The most crucial step was still waiting for her, and it required a level of focus that changes everything. Elisha gave her one very specific instruction before she started to work. He told her to go inside with her sons and shut the door behind her. Why shut the door? Because financial recovery requires fierce privacy and focus. When you are trying to dig your way out of ruin, you cannot be distracted by the noise of the outside world. You cannot look at the neighbor who just bought a new car and feel jealous. You cannot scroll through social media and let influencers make you feel inadequate about your lifestyle. You have to shut the door on comparison. You have to shut the door on pride. You have to shut the door on the voices that say you will always be broke. Inside that closed room, it was just her sons, her little bit of oil, and her faith. Then she began to pour. She took her tiny, seemingly insignificant jar of oil and she tipped it over the first empty vessel. Logic dictates that a small jar only holds a few drops. But as she poured, the oil did not stop. She filled the first jar, then the second, then the third. She kept pouring and the resource kept multiplying, but only as long as she kept acting. She wasn't just sitting there praying for the jars to fill themselves. She had to actively lift her hand and pour. This is where so many of us get stuck. We want the financial breakthrough, but we refuse to take the small, terrifying actions. We don't want to take the extra shift. We don't want to sell the items in the garage gathering dust. We don't want to start that small side business because it feels like a drop in the ocean of our debt. But the biblical strategy is clear. God multiplies what you set in motion. The oil flows when you pour it. She tells her son to bring her another jar, but he replies that there are no more jars left. And in that exact moment, the oil stopped flowing.
Listen closely to this, because it is the pivot upon which your entire financial future turns. The provision did not run out because God's resources were limited. The provision stopped because her capacity to receive it ended. The miracle matched her preparation. If she had borrowed 5 jars, she would have received 5 jars of oil. Because she borrowed many, she received many. Your current financial ceiling might just be a reflection of the capacity you have built. If you want to get out of debt, you have to expand your mindset, expand your discipline, and expand your willingness to manage what you are given. She runs back to the prophet, bursting with the news of what happened. He tells her, "Go, sell the oil, and pay your debts. You and your sons can live on what is left." Notice the order of his instructions. First, pay your debts. Honor your obligations. Free yourself from the chains of the creditor. Then live on the rest. She didn't just survive, she was given a foundation to build a new life. The deeper struggle you are facing right now isn't actually about the numbers in your bank account. The real struggle is the paralyzing shame that tells you your worth is tied to your debt. It is the lie that you are trapped, that you have nothing of value, and that you are completely at the mercy of circumstances. But you are not your debt. You are a person equipped with a little oil, a talent, a small income, a breath of life, a mind capable of learning. The solution I promised you at the beginning of this video is this profound shift in perspective. Stop waiting for a rescue ship and start pouring the oil you already have. Get organized, gather your empty jars by making a budget, shut the door on societal pressure, and start taking small, disciplined actions every single day. Multiply your efforts through obedience and watch how step by step the heavy burden begins to lift. You have what it takes to change your family's legacy. You just have to be willing to pour. If this story brought light to your situation today, don't let the journey end here. Suscríbete y sigue aprendiendo principios que transforman vidas.